from what you've gone through and go out and find them. So I am came from the Lord, and what I thought needed to happen to bring this thing together. So earlier this year, 2014, I came up with an audition call, and I was looking for females, girls. A lot of them I knew strictly because I knew I was supposed to use certain females in the city, mostly artists. So I went out, found girls who sing, dance, and act. So we're here today, and we have I Am, and I have a team of girls that we're working with who are going to bring everything that this vision was to the stage. The story of I Am is a compilation of my life, absolutely. Every girl that was handpicked from God. Again, I'm trying to complete a vision of my own in the natural and then the spiritual. So part of it was the way I thought it would be, and it ended up the way God wanted it to be. I started off with 20 girls, went down to 12, went down to 10, and now we're down to 8 girls, including myself. So all of these girls have a piece of me in some area or some time in my life. There was a time when I was abused, mentally, physically, and emotionally. There were a few times when I tried to commit suicide. There were a lot of times to where I dealt with identity issues. There were times when I aborted. There were times when I didn't realize I was beautiful. And there were times when I lost a mother, not physically, but I lost my mother at a time in my life. So yes, the I Am is a story of these women, but reminded me of myself. The times in my life where I felt alone, knowing growing up in church, you hear that God is everywhere, God is with you, and God has never left my side. He has never left my side. The alone part was my choice. I knew God was there, but because he's not tangible and he's not touchable, he wasn't there, honestly, for me. But God has been there this whole time, because if he hasn't been there this whole time, I would have been 6 feet under years ago. My foundation comes from, I've been born and raised in church. My father is a pastor. He's been pastoring 30 years plus. He's still a bishop in the city. And my foundation came from church, my father's church. All my life, I've been raised in church. I've never left church, regardless of what I was doing. Going there 4 days a week, holding leadership roles. I didn't care if I was sleeping with somebody. I didn't care if I was partying, being a weekend warrior. I made my way to church every time I was supposed to be there. So the foundation had already been laid out. And that's where I know if I didn't have that foundation, I would be in a hospital, suicide, crazy hospital. I would be killed by the hand of a man, or killed in being at the wrong place at the wrong time. So God has always been there, and that's been my foundation, because at the end of the day, whether or not I slept with 10 men, whether or not I tried drugs, or whether or not I was partying, whether or not I aborted, I knew where my help came from. And at the end of the day, I was on my knees praying to God, asking God for forgiveness, asking God to keep me, because the foundation was always laid. And I always knew who to call on at the end of the day. When mama wasn't there, when daddy wasn't there, when my sister or my brother wasn't there, when my boos weren't there, I knew that God is my source, and he was my source this whole time. But one thing I realized, and growing as a woman and growing in life, that if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be sitting here today to tell you, whether or not you believe God or don't, that you can make it, that you have a story, and your shortcomings and your tragedies and the mistakes you made have only made you to be better. You know, you have to go through some things to understand and get to where you got to go, even to be a light and an impact on somebody else. I had to go through it. And because God let me go through it, I went through it. He saw me through it. So like the Bible says, he won't put more on you than you can bear. Everybody has a story, everybody has a past, everybody has skeletons. And I'm just the one to say it's time to take off the mask and let's keep it real, because somebody's life needs to be saved. The pressures of life is just hard in general. But when you're under a microscope, growing up in church, that's where I learned to mask everything that I went through, because you have to hold up a reputation. You have to think about, you think that your life is your Father's life, and if you go out and do this, it's going to reflect him. So all the secret stuff you had to do secret, and you just cover it up, and that's what I've been used to all my life, is covering up and just putting on this facade and putting on this smile. But behind the smile is a broken woman. Behind this smile is a lost soul. The behind the smile is just mess. I am Rebecca, and I am unstoppable.